So, back in the summer of 2022, something really weird happened in K-pop. This new group just appeared. It felt like they came out of thin air. No teasers, no big backstory, just music. They called themselves NewJeans. And what happened next? Well, they didn't just top the charts. They basically went on to define the vibe of the entire 2020s. So in this explainer, we're going to get into exactly how they pulled that off. All right, so let's really get into it because this is the big question, right? How on earth did 5 teenagers just walk in and rewrite the entire K-pop playbook? I mean, this is an industry built on super strict formulas run by these massive companies. This was no accident, let me tell you. What we're looking at here is a perfectly timed, perfectly executed cultural moment. And look, the success we're talking about, it was just insane, right out of the gate. They dropped multiple music videos before we even knew who they were. Songs like Hype Boy and Attention weren't just hits, they were global anthems. Suddenly, they're the faces of all these huge luxury brands. And yeah, as you've probably heard, their whole approach even kicked off some major drama within the industry. So you gotta understand, this wasn't just another hot debut. This was a total game changer, a paradigm shift. Okay, so to really crack this case, we have to rewind a bit. We need to look at the world they stepped into. Because, no artist, no matter how amazing, just appears in a vacuum, right? NewJeans was both a product of its time and a direct response to what was going on culturally in the early 2020s. I mean, just think about the absolute perfect storm that was brewing back then. First, the pandemic hits, and boom, our entire lives go digital. We're all living through screens. Then, at the exact same time, Korean culture just explodes on the world stage. Squid Game, the whole thing. And then, the cherry on top, generative AI like ChatGPT suddenly goes mainstream, making us question what's even real anymore. It was this crazy, chaotic, disorienting time, and NewJeans just walked right into the middle of it all. And it wasn't just what was happening globally either. The ground was literally shifting in Korea itself. You had the old guard of K-pop, the big three, suddenly being challenged by this new behemoth, Hive. But honestly, the more interesting shift was deeper. Culturally, people were getting tired of those big, epic, hero-driven stories. You could see it everywhere, especially in Korean literature. The focus was moving toward these smaller, more fluid emotions, these quiet little observations. The culture was hungry for something different, something more personal. The stage was, well, perfectly. Okay, so now that we've set the scene, let's look at their actual strategy, because this is the cool part. NewJeans didn't just catch this cultural wave. Oh no, they showed up with a completely different kind of surfboard, one nobody had ever seen before. They took the K-pop formula that had ruled for years, and they just, piece by piece, took it apart. And this whole deconstruction thing, it was absolutely not an accident. It was the master plan of one person, Min Hee-jin. Now, if you know K-pop, you know she's a total legend. As the CEO of their label, Adore, she was the creative genius behind some of the biggest groups at SM Entertainment. So she came into this project with a very clear, very intentional mission, to basically break all the rules that she herself had helped create. In this table here, this really lays it all out, doesn't it? It's like a cheat sheet for their revolution. On one side, you have your typical fourth-gen playbook. Super complex teasers, massive, lore-heavy world building. And then you look at NewJeans, and they just drop the music. No warning. While everyone else was going for these intense, high-concept, almost sci-fi looks, NewJeans was all about this natural, effortless, retro vibe. They swapped out epic sagas for these small, relatable, everyday feelings. It was basically an anti-idol strategy in an industry that invented the idol. And this whole philosophy, it's baked right into their name. I mean, it's pretty brilliant when you think about it. NewJeans. New for, what's new and trendy for their generation, and jeans for that timeless, classic thing you wear every day and never get tired of. Right from the jump, their goal wasn't just to be another passing trend. They were aiming to become a cultural staple, like your favorite pair of jeans. But here's the thing. The marketing, the visuals, that's all just the surface level. Their real revolution, the secret sauce to why they connected with so many people, is something way deeper. It's all in the lyrics. It's this incredible, uncanny ability they have to find the poetry in just everyday life. Remember what we said about Korean poetry, how it was moving away from big stories? Well, NewJeans songs do the exact same thing. They just got rid of that strong, all-knowing voice. You're not going to find any epic quests or dramatic battles in their music. Instead, it's all about capturing those fleeting moods, those kind of confusing feelings, and all the quiet, subtle little details that actually make up a real person's life. And this leads us to this really cool concept. Let's call it strangely persistent everydayness. It sounds kind of academic, but it's simple. It's this trick where they take something totally normal, totally mundane, like a cookie or your phone screen or hearing about a friend's breakup, and they pack it with these really deep, really complex, sometimes even kind of uncomfortable emotions. They make huge feelings feel totally normal, and they make normal moments feel incredibly important. Okay, perfect example. Their song, Cookie. You hear it and you think, oh, that's cute, it's a song about a cookie. But then you listen to the words, and they take this simple, sweet thing and turn it into this metaphor for a fatal temptation. It's like this gentle, almost passive-aggressive offering of something you know you shouldn't take but you can't resist. It's such a complex, kind of creepy idea, but it's wrapped up in this super simple package. Or how about this line from Hurt? Come on, literally everyone has felt this. That feeling of holding your phone late at night or first thing in the morning and just staring at a blank screen where you wish a text from someone would be. The song isn't just about being sad in some vague way. It's about that very specific, physical feeling of loneliness in a world where we're supposed to be connected all the time. Okay, this one might be my favorite example. In their song ETA, instead of some made-up fantasy world, they drop you right into what feels like real life. They use common Korean names like Hajin and Jiwon, and suddenly it doesn't feel like you're listening to a pop song anymore. It feels like you're getting hot gossip from your friend about your other friends. It just pulls the whole story out of pop star land and drops it right into your world. It's so smart and effective. And what's really cool is when you zoom out and look at all their songs together, you see how these little everyday moments actually map out a whole relationship. You've got that first crush excitement, that sweet like bubblegum feeling. Then you move into that next stage, the first hints of doubt, that feeling of I'm not going to be the one to get hurt. And finally, you get to that moment of clarity and how sweet, where you're like, you know what? I'm done with this. It's a full emotional journey that pretty much everyone can relate to. So let's bring it all together. What's the takeaway here? What does the whole NewJeans phenomenon tell us about where things are headed? They've clearly created a new blueprint for success, but the real question is, can anyone else actually follow it? So back to our original question, how did they rewrite the rules? Well, it was a perfect storm, really. You can see it all right here. They showed up at exactly the right time when everyone was kind of tired of the old way of doing things. They had exactly the right strategy, this anti-idol approach that broke all the rules. And, crucially, they had the right message, that there's something beautiful and important in our everyday lives. The result? They didn't just follow a trend. They became the trend. They became a barometer for the entire culture. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. Think about it. We live in a world that's getting more and more digital, more virtual. We're surrounded by AI and perfectly polished online lives. In a world like that, maybe the most radical, the most revolutionary story you can possibly tell is just the real, messy, normal, everyday one. What do you think?